dark. You kept pushing on, but then you went too far. When your ship has sailed and all your dreams are lost, everything is wrong, you feel like it's your fault. Just remember, I will be there for you, baby. Remember, there's nothing out there to get you, don't forget it. When life throws lemons, just call on me. Just call on me. Just call on me. Just call on me. You're stronger now than you ever been. You gotta leave now, it's time to catch the wind. You will climb up high and look through the clouds. And when you're feeling low, I know you'll bounce back. Oh, and just remember, I will be there for you, baby. Remember, there's nothing out there to get you, don't forget it. When life throws lemons, just call on me. Just call on me. Just call on me. Just call on me.
Pocono Raceway had all of the excitement that we wish we would see from a racetrack like that, but tonight we come to a racetrack that's a little bit different. We come to South Beach at Homestead-Miami Speedway for round number 13 of the season, back in the trucks. Good evening, everybody. My name is Frank Marchese. Thank you very much for making us a part of your evening. Alongside me, my broadcast partner, Mike DeMoney. Mike, a great race at Pocono last week. If memory serves me correctly, it was also a caution-free race at Pocono last week that came in exactly an hour. A great race, but a two-horse race between two drivers who not seeing right now as far as the practice sheet goes.
Yeah, it definitely was. We had basically two relatively newcomers there. Andrew Shulta wound up leading 36 laps, but came up just a little bit short as Justin Michael was able to take home the win. Mike Fisher back in third. But, yeah, as you said, it was a caution-free race. I mean, usually you don't see those too much at Pocono, but here we are back in the trucks again, headed to South Beach. A little bit different track. These guys have been here a couple times before, so we look forward to seeing what action they can provide tonight.
Yep, and as we talk about a track that has two completely different corners as far as dimensions go, a lot tighter on exit of 2 and entry of 3, and a lot broader going into turn 1 and coming out of turn 4. Those are two things that these drivers are going to be able to use to their advantage all night long, as well as that high line to try to make some slingshot moves down the straightaways.
Yeah, we've seen it work several times, especially, when you're talking about like Kyle Larson or somebody like that, get up there on that high line, just ride inches from the wall and able to carry that speed down the stretch. So we'll see we'll see what driver can take advantage of that. We've seen quite a few guys out here in practice. We'll see if Lion Swearinger, holy crap, I was just looking at the timing and scoring. Looks like he ran 159 laps here in practice. So definitely putting in the practice effort. We'll see if it transfers over into the race here.
We are live here, sir. And while those 160 laps that Swearingen has run in practice is quite a bit, does not beat Earl Weaver's 164 that he has done for this 107 lap race as we get set to get into it here tonight. Looking at the driver's standings right now, unfortunately, we've been having a problem with that graphic, so we're not going to be able to show it to you. But Jeff Hollingsworth right now leading by 15 points over Jeff Schmeier. Brian Barnes falling down to third. Ryan Steele and Wayne Hutchinson maintaining their fourth and fifth positions that they went into Pocono with. Jeff Schmeier still trying to make up for the ground that he lost after those computer issues kept him out of Chicagoland.
Yeah, that is something that I don't know that I worry about too much if I was him right now, as they do have a few drop weeks, and that probably is going to be definitely going to be one of his. But we'll see if he's able to get some points here at Homestead, as last time we were here, Hollingsworth finished third. Bentley Glazer led 66 laps and finished second as Kyle McCartney won the race.
And the last
that was
time,
back in April of 22.
Yep, that would have been the last time. So they did not come here this past season. It would you have to go back to season 46 to see that race. 32 drivers were there that night at a race that also had no cautions. We have 31 drivers, at least right now, here attempting to qualify for this race. And one thing that's a little bit different about this race at Homestead than maybe the race a year ago at this point would be that we have an off week next week, splitting these two truck races. We go to, looking back through here, I believe we go to Nashville Superspeedway after the off week next week. So this is going to be a big race for guys to get momentum going into that next race.
Yeah, after the bye week, you get a couple easier tracks as you have Nashville, Michigan, and then Loudon. But after that, kind of heats up again as you go to Mosport and Eldora.
And we'll take a look as we get out onto the racetrack, and once you know it, Earl Weaver is going to be the first one out this week. As a couple of guys already out and rolling right now. Fred Williams getting out on track. Wayne Hutchinson getting out on track, as is Christian Bishop. Mike Fisher out on track as well. Paul Crumry, fastest man in practice. Lyle Swearingen on the racetrack, as well as we see Earl Weaver starting his first lap, and it looks as though it's going to be an open qualifying session here, possibly a mistake in the way the session was built. So it's not just going to be one and done. You got 10 minutes to try to get a qualifying lap in.
Well, that definitely shakes it up a little bit here, as you're able to maybe get a little drafting help and at least maybe a couple different runs out there. Not now, if you just make one mistake, as in, your 2-lap qualifying run that they usually have here. If you make one little mistake, you can go back to pit road, chalk it up, and try again.
It's Mike Fisher in that AOL number 43 car. And one thing that these guys are going to have to find with 31 drivers here is trying to find some clean air to be able to put one of those good laps in, or at least, at the very least, a banker lap, to try to make sure you have maybe not the best qualifying attempt, but one that's going to be decent enough that will get you to start up near the front, as Paul Crumry was the fastest driver on track now make it Jeff Hollingsworth in that number 15 Ford F-150 tonight. A completely different look for Hollingsworth coming into this race.
Yeah, that's going to be something I'm going to have to pay attention to as he switched cars there. But he's only one to go under 33 at the moment. But there's quite a group back there, just a little ways of Christian Bishop, Wayne Hutchinson, Fred Williams, all of them in the 33:12, 33:13 range.
Lyle Swearingen second quickest on his qualifying time. Bentley Glazer goes to the top at a 32.90. So Jeff Hollingsworth's 32.91 only holds up as long as his teammate can get out onto the racetrack. As Swearingen will call it a run here after 2 laps. Looking to get out there and get another run in as Mike Fisher's found himself some clean racetrack.
He definitely got out there and got that clean air to the front of that truck, so he's going to try and put down his best lap. Wasn't too bad his first time around, the 32.99. We'll see if he can better it this time by.
It's a very nice gap of clean air right behind Bentley Glazer and in front of the number 11 of Dennis Fuson, who we see on track right now. There's a good about full turn length of clean air for someone who's wanting to try to find a gap that he can get into. As Fuson sliding up off of turn 4. And Fuson, 33.08, his first go around, a 33.15, not faster. He'll stay in 9th.
Now, so when you see one of these open qualifying sessions, I always kind of look to see who hasn't came out yet. And it looks like Kyle McCartney's still sitting in there. Julian Ricci and Keith Kellman have not tried a qualifying run yet. So we'll see if they wait until the track gets a little bit clearer after everybody kind of puts in their best lap and decides that's good enough.
Brian Barnes gets out on track right now as, boy, a big slide there for the 30 of Jeff Schmeier. Take a look at Ryan Steele, the number 17 tonight. Right behind Paul Crumry. As you had mentioned, Kyle McCartney, Keith Kellman had not gone out and attempted a lap. McCartney is on one now. Kellman has not yet attempted. Dan Brazington is starting his first flyer right now. Julian Ricci is on lap number 4 of this qualifying session. Still has not put down a valid lap after collecting the wall a couple of times on his previous attempts. So Ricci working on lap number 5 right now, trying to get his first time in.
So top of the board currently is still Bentley Glazer with Jeff Hollingsworth up there as well. Lyle Swearingen.
Got very close to that outside wall, trying to avoid one of the cars coming down pit road.
I think that's going to be a theme here in this race, is you just see these guys catching them when they're either coming to pit road or just coming off of pit road and trying to get out of the way.
Runner-up last week, Andrew Shulta out on track right now. 8th quickest, did a 33.01 his last time around. That would have been his quickest. See what Shulta can do here. And Shulta does not go quicker, a 33.05, 4/100ths of a second slower. Mike Fisher coming across the line now. Fisher not quicker. Charles Woods jumps up to 5th on this most recent attempt for the number 40.
Yeah, Chad Simpson up to 7th with a 32.99 there. That 42 Toyota.
A lot of guys rolling out now. Butch Davis finds some clean racetrack. He'll be showing up as the number 12 tonight. 25 of Wayne Hutchinson. Come out behind Bob Beltrami and Jeff Schmeier, but ahead of Julian Ricci. See on the track map there where the free space is out on the circuit. Looks like the 7 of Lyle Swearingen will slot in line. My guess would be behind Butch Davis and in front of Bob Beltrami in the number 7. There he is.
Yeah, if he can get up to speed, try and get some of that clean air there. Looks like he'll be able to do that.
Now, while you do want the draft, and while the draft can definitely be a benefit on your qualifying lap, it also takes air off the front end of the car, which does not help as far as turn-in ability in one of these NASCAR Craftsman trucks. Big wiggle there as Bentley Glazer resets the pole lap at a 32.87.
And Bentley Glazer back in that 87 Chevy after the last couple weeks having a different number. And takes that 87 right to the pole for now.
Wayne Hutchinson, the number 25, now 19th fastest. He has done the most laps thus far in this qualifying session. He's working on lap number 14 right now. Should get one more. Now, unlike the individual qualifying, the open qualifying, you get to finish your lap if the timer runs out. So when the timer hits 0, you're not done. You can go again as long as you start the lap prior, as Hutchinson will bail out after completing 14 laps here in qualifying. Jeff Hollingsworth trying to take pole away from his teammate. Coming out of turn 4, should have 2 more times around.
Went faster that time, but not quite fast enough at 32.88 to Glazer's 32.87.
So Jeff Hollingsworth looks like he is going to be done for this qualifying session. Chad Simpson, third quickest. He just put down a personal best at a 32.92 last time around. And he is going to pull it in. He is done. Butch Davis, Andrew Shulta, they are done. Chad Stearns in the 05 coming across the line. He'll have one more lap if he wants it. 33.11 for Chad Stearns this time around. He's going to get blocked off by the 13 of James Campbell, so that will do it for his qualifying run. Christian Bishop, as the checkered flag flies, he will be the first one to have an official time put down. Almost catching that wall coming off of turn 4, and Bishop, a 33.04 is his best. He'll go with 33.19 this time around. Dennis Fuson coming out of turn 4. Fuson 18th quickest. Cannot improve. Dustin Burns does improve on his lap time, a 33.67. Unfortunately, will not get out of the 31st and final starting spot, as Julian Ricci will be the last one to cross the line. He does not improve either, and that will do it for this qualifying session. As we'll take a look at the grid here for tonight's race, Bentley Glazer with a time of 32.866 takes the pole from his teammate Jeff Hollingsworth by 9 1/1000ths of a second. Chad Simpson and Kyle McCartney will make up row number 2, with Lyle Swearingen and Andrew Shulta in row number 3. Butch Davis and Charles Woods will make up row number 4. Mike Fisher and Justin Wilkinson will make up row number 5. Paul Crumry and Chad Stearns will sit in row 6. Fred Williams and Jeff Schmeier in row 7. William Fletcher and Christian Bishop will round out the top half of the field.
Row 9 is Ryan Steele and Dennis Fuson. Row 10, Bob Beltrami, Wayne Hutchinson. Wayne Fleet and Earl Weaver make up row 11. Row 12 is David Weaver and Brian Barnes. And you go back to Dan Brazington and Carl Burke. Barry Phil and Keith Kellman at 27th, 28th. Julian Ricci James Campbell and Dustin Burns round out the tail end of the field here.
Everyone qualifying within effectively 8/10ths of a second of each other, I should say. Very, very close field here tonight, all within a second. Quite good here for Homestead-Miami Speedway. We are just past 8 o'clock p.m. in sim time. Light wind at 2 miles an hour, 77-degree ambient temperature, 80-degree track temperature. And with the night rolling in, it is going to get cooler and it is going to get a lot grippier for these drivers as the race goes on.
But it's definitely something, if you're a driver, you want to hear that you're going to get more grip as the night wears on. These guys do have 3 sets sitting in the pits as we're set for 107 laps here at Homestead.
So it will be quite a night here at the Homestead-Miami Speedway, getting set to roll away, and there we go. All 31 drivers do line up on the grid. And as is customary here at Homestead, inside row takes the access road, outside row jumps out onto the racetrack. Not a lot of time to think about how this restart is going to go because we will be going green when we come out of turn number 4.
Yeah, this is a pretty quick parade lap, or half a parade lap, really, because these guys will be set free as soon as they get through 3 and 4 here.
It's been quite a while since a caution has come out here in this series. Now, they did have 6 at Chicagoland, but to go caution-free at Pocono, first time in a while that we are back in the trucks as we head through turns 3 and 4 for the final time before we get rolling. 107 laps here from the Homestead-Miami Speedway. Pace truck is off. Bentley Glazer gets into the restart zone for the first time tonight. Green flag is in the air. We're running for 107 laps here at Homestead.
Jeff Hollingsworth gets down to the inside right in front of Chad Simpson as he gets loose. Checks up bad, slows down Woods there as well.
Charles Woods, a big loser on that, getting stuck behind the 42, but everyone manages to keep it straight up until now, as that was contact between Chad Simpson and Chad Stearns. That sent the 42 around. Ryan Steele there as well. The 95 we saw around sideways.
Yeah, it looked like they just they were just 3 and 4 wide there and just wound up getting hooked in that left rear quarter panel.
Well, so much for no caution early.
Yeah, that's that whole announcers thing, I think, there. Frank?
I think so. So let's ride on board here with Chad Simpson. Gets a good restart. I think just being tucked up behind Hollingsworth, maybe the 18 had something to do with it. Gets it back rolling. See that Indiana car, the 05 there, that's Chad Stearns, just drifts up into the outside lane. And that's what ends up hooking the 42.
That cold tire's a little bit too much throttle there coming through the corners, what it looks like. Just got that back end, got loose, and around he went, and was trying to slow up enough.
There's Simpson. Paul Crumry gets around. Well, the 95 isn't doing much to give space.
No, it looks like, I'll say it looks like the 05 was trying to drift up out of the 95's way and just didn't pay attention to his outside there.
See it one more time from above. So 95 pushing the 05 up and is almost clear. 28 gets in it. 17 gets in it. 25 catches a piece of it as well. I was going to say it too. If a caution usually comes out in this series, it's going to happen on the first lap. And that's exactly what we've got. On a positive note, though, Bob Beltrami last time around set the fastest lap of the race at a 53.50. So good on you, Bob. Fastest lap of the race, by the way, by about 2 or 3 seconds.
The last few times they've been here, they've ran really well, and I expect them to get it under control here and get back to some good green flag racing that we've seen the last few weeks.
That 53-second lap time around Homestead might not be all that uncommon. We saw over the weekend, if you were paying attention to the iRacing Twitter, you would have seen they have live screenshots of racing in the rain. Very nice shot of the GT3s running around Belle Isle in the rain. So it's coming.
I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing there, Frank.
It's a great thing for that 53-second lap time. His green flag comes back out. Bentley Glazer out in front again because we didn't get a full green flag lap in. Single file restart.
That single file restart is now they are starting to make some headway back here. Butch Davis, Mike Fisher side by side.
Battle of the 43s down the back straightaway.
Still hanging on there. Looks like we got Weaver loose in the backstretch there.
There is the 46 of Earl Weaver. You see the front end damage on that machine. David Weaver is actually here. I do apologize. Josh Weaver is not. Carl Burke was also involved in that. You see the damage on the 53 truck. And here is what happened down the back straightaway between those two. Oh. It's like both Weavers caught it.
Both Weavers, Carl Burke.
Julian Ricci working his way up, looking to the inside of Wayne Fleet in the number 6. He's already up 12 spots from where he started is that number 1 Logitech machine. Good run thus far.
I was going to say, was able to avoid that early incident there and is still making his way up through the field. Six of Wayne Fleet just a little bit in front of him as they head into 1 here.
Barry Phil on the 99 just behind those two, as now Ricci will get the position as Butch Davis looks to the inside of Justin Wilkinson, who Wilkinson started off with an absolute flyer at Pocono last week. Took the pole, led the first 9 laps of the race, and then, thanks to pitch strategy, ended up getting sent all the way to the back.
Yeah, it definitely was not the way he wanted to finish that race last week. Like you said, starting on the pole, wound up getting sent towards the back, got caught in a little bit of some rough racing there, and we were caution free, but there was still a lot of rough racing towards that back of the pack here.
Sorry, he did not lead the first 9 laps. My apologies. He did not get a lap led, as a matter of fact, but he was up in the top 3, ended up finishing 33rd. Did Wilkinson last week. As he goes side by side with Butch Davis once again. Paul Crumry just behind, trying to get around the outside of Christian Bishop, so far unsuccessful. Ooh, and rolls the wall going into 3.
I was going to say, Fuson gets a little looser. Crumry looked like he was starting to. they were able to gather it in and stay off of each other there.
On board with Paul Crumrine. Now, this track does not help the car if you get into the wall, unlike Pocono where your speed just completely dies off. It's the handling here at Pocono that dies off. If you rub the wall, your car does tend to get very, very loose after scraping up against the outside wall, as Lyle Swearingen looking to use that outside line to get around Andrew Shulta in the 81.
Yeah, Andrew Shulta knows all about that wall in Pocono as he was leading and then tapped that outside wall and faded back. Looking to stay clean here. Currently up 2 positions, sitting inside the top 4.
Lyle Swearingen up 2 positions as well. These two are a second behind the pair of Bentley Glazer and Jeff Hollingsworth. Glazer has led all 12 laps of this race so far, mostly uncontested.
Yeah, I'll say a familiar sight up here at Homestead-Miami. Last couple times we were here, he's been running up front, finished second both times, so he's looking to do one better this time.
The redemption arc is on its way for Chad Simpson. Just got around Julian Ricci for 16th. Now Chad Stearns trying to follow his way through. Battle for 16th, 17th, and 18th, what you're seeing on screen right now between the 42, the 05, and the 1. And there's that outside line momentum allowing Julian Ricci to get back up alongside of Stearns on exit of 4.
Yeah, every time you're watching these guys pull a lap, you can see that inside line gets a little bit better entry, but that outside line just carries that momentum and that speed so much better. But Stearns was able to get around Ricci. Barry Phil now down to the inside of Ricci, going to try his luck there as well.
Barry Phil in that Caterpillar number 99 Toyota Tundra. It's going to have to regroup and try again.
Not going to have too much time to regroup as Wayne Fleet looks like he's making his way up to the rear of Barry Phil there.
Keith Kelman there as well, as is Barry Phil, or not Barry Phil, Ryan Steele. Watching Barry Phil. One driver who we haven't spoken about so far here, Jeff Schmeier. Now, Jeff Schmeier came down pit road on that caution on lap 2. See, there is a good amount of damage on the right side of that number 30. Schmeier right now 15 points behind Jeff Hollingsworth coming into this race in the championship, running in 28th position right now, falling off the back of Fred Williams right now.
Yeah, just Schmeier involved in that early race caution there. Slid up and just got that right side just hammered. And as you were saying, that handling goes away. So does the speed. So he'll be looking for another caution or something so he can get that damage repaired and get back to racing.
Riding on board with Jeff Schmeier. It's been a great battle here. I know it's been for 18th, but Julian Ricci has been able to just barely keep that car in front of Barry Phil. And as you can see from the right side of that number 99, Phil has caught the wall, and that's allowing Wayne Fleet now to get into this battle. Keith Kelman right there as well. Ooh, contact. Ooh. Barry Phil able to keep it, Wayne Fleet, pardon me, able to keep it straight.
Just got door checked there and able to keep it going straight thanks to that paved apron there on the backstretch.
Battle up towards the front as this is cooled down. Andrew Shulta has gotten around Lyle Swearingen. These two have maintained pretty much a 1.2 second gap up to the front two. Butch Davis and Justin Wilkinson not really gaining on these guys either. And these two have 1.3 seconds over Christian Bishop.
So it looks like they kind of settled down here a little bit. But as those teammates of Swearinger and Davis get hooked up, well, it'd be interesting to see if Davis gets into that wall. Yeah. Just a little bit there, man.
Part of the reason why some of these guys are having a little bit more trouble, from what I can see and from what I can remember of this racetrack, the safer barrier doesn't go all the way around here. It goes from the entry to turn 3 all the way to the exit of 2, if I remember right. We'll see here. Yep, I am right. Or no, it looks like. Hold on. Let's jump on board here. It looks like that turn 3 safer barrier jumps out a little bit on quarter entry, and if you're really trying to run up against that wall, it can catch you out, and you could do what Butch Davis just did right there.
Yeah, it definitely looked like he was not prepared for that wall to jump out there a little bit, like you were saying, but these teammates here running different lines. Davis is staying up high while Swearingen goes down low into the corners and then slides up to that outside wall, all on the straightaways here.
Can confirm with the onboard shot. Safer barrier does, in fact, go all the way around Homestead-Miami Speedway. Thank you very much, my stupid brain. See, this is why I got to think before I talk sometimes. All the time, actually. So Swearingen and Butch Davis continue their battle. Swearingen looks like he's pulling over for Butch right now as Davis gets to the outside. Back in the field, battle continues. However, it is not with Barry Phil. Julian Ricci continues to hold some of these guys back. Not saying that in a bad way. As now it's Keith Kelman's turn to try to get around Julian Ricci. Ricci has disbanded of 2 would-be attackers to his position. Keith Kelman is trying not to be added to the list.
Yeah, Julian Ricci's running that high line and is staying really tough up there. He's been able to hold off quite a few guys as they have ran that low line and wound up, I don't know if they're using up their stuff or what have you, but they're fading towards the back as he goes down to the inside of Carl Burke there.
Carl Burke one lap down. Yeah, Carl Burke one lap down after being involved in that incident that did not bring out a caution right after we went back green. There's Barry Phil battling with Wayne Fleet now just behind. That is for 21st between these two.
Like they're trying to, Barry Phil's trying to chase him down and get just behind him, maybe to catch that draft a little bit or try and use his line or something, but he was following him clear down towards that apron there.
Thought we were
now
about
he floats up high.
Thought we were about to see a repeat of what happened earlier. It's a nice little battle here. Lyle Swearingen, Kyle McCartney, Christian Bishop with Justin Wilkinson watching, very intrigued at this battle.
Christian Bishop usually does fairly decent here. Been inside the top 10 the last couple times we were here. Usually shows up mostly or most noticeably at the road courses as he was dominant last year and I believe he won this year too.
Christian Bishop was the winner at Mid-Ohio, round number 4 of the season. Right on board with him now. Lyle Swearingen. His tires look like they're going away on that number 68, and a big slide there from Christian Bishop. Fortunate not to slide down into the 68.
I'll say you were talking about the tires of the 68. Looks like the tires of the 26 are about to join him there.
Well, 8 tires are better than 4. Swearingen will slide in behind. You see there at the back of this group behind Mike Fisher is the 25 of Wayne Hutchinson. After being involved in that incident on lap 1, Hutchinson came down pit road to try to repair that number 25. He has since come back down pit road once again on lap 19 to try to do some more repairs. He is 2 laps down right now. In the 31st and final position right now is Wayne Hutchinson. Carl Burke coming down pit road, almost hitting the end barrels.
I think that was a little too close there. Looking at that.
Oh! That was contact. Earl Weaver and Kyle McCartney.
Kyle McCartney just got checked hard towards that outside wall as Christian Bishop takes advantage.
Ever the opportunist, Christian Bishop, and these two mentioned that race at Mid-Ohio earlier this year. These two did a lot of battling there for first and second. So right now, as it sits, Bentley Glazer has a half a second lead over Andrew Shulta, who's continuing to march his way forward. Jeff Hollingsworth is 0.8 of a second off of Shulta, and these three have a 2-second lead over Butch Davis in P4, with Christian Bishop having just taken P5. We are 30 laps in here at Homestead-Miami Speedway. We'll have a battle for the lead, and you'll see it on side-by-side. You saw during the break, Andrew Shulta, your new race leader, as back on lap 33. This is how it happened. Right around the outside of Bentley Glazer coming out of turn 2. And with Bentley being down on the bottom, and nothing he could do.
No, he just stayed closer to that outside wall, was able to carry that speed, and as we see, pit stops are happening right now.
Justin Wilkinson in the 19, Lyle Swearingen in the number 68, coming down pit road. Battle for 5th right now, or battle for 6th, pardon me. Charles Woods and Mike Fisher going side by side. Fisher on the bottom, Woods on the outside, and Fisher will make the pass. There is the 30 of Jeff Schmeier, second place man in points, as we mentioned, came down pit road on lap 2. He's caught the wall a couple of times in that number 30. He is a lap down, is that number 30. Battling with the 95 of Fred Williams for position. And with Williams catching the outside wall, Schmeier will get that position.
Yeah, and just in front of them, you got Mike Fisher now going to the inside of Christian Bishop there for position inside the top 5.
Fisher has not come into pit yet. This is all tire ability for him. Andrew Shulta, by the way, has had a moment. And because of said moment, Shulta is back now in 3rd. He's lost almost 3 seconds, and here's what happened. Got into the wall coming out of turn 4.
Well, as we were saying, when you get to that outside wall, it definitely takes away your momentum. Luckily, he only lost a couple positions so far, and with green flag pit stops coming, he won't have too much time to get that repaired.
Almost seems like an ARCA car. It's well known on iRacing that if you get into the wall in an ARCA car, you may as well come to a stop because it's almost impossible to peel that thing off the wall. It's looking like the same thing here tonight. It's seeming very difficult to pull these trucks off the wall when you do get into it.
Yeah, that definitely was an advantage there, as Andrew Shulta was in that outside wall and Glazer was just to his inside. If that was any other car, I'm going to say you're probably going to get bounced down in front of Glazer and cause a whole big pile up there.
Thank you very much to everyone who has joined us here tonight in the chat. Babs saying hello. Kyle McCartney with a cheering section. Anna Ricci cheering on the number 1. Julian still keeping Keith Kelman behind him, by the way. Now up to 13th with the pit strategy working out the way it has.
Yeah, he is doing pretty well, just hanging out right there. He's been able to hold quite a few drivers back and still improve his position up 15 right now.
Ricci finally letting Keith Kelman go, and as former broadcast partner Tony Trapasso would say, he has done yeoman's work to keep these guys behind him tonight while making up positions in his own right.
I'm going to say we're going to see almost everybody try and come in pretty quick unless they can stretch it another 10 laps. It doesn't make much sense to stay out too much longer as Fisher and Davis and Shulta all head in.
Shulta, Hollingsworth, Davis, Fisher, Bishop, all down pit road here. So a nice little run of cars coming down for their stops here on lap 46.
Glazer is still out on track, so we'll see if he comes out pit road this next time. Looks like he is.
Bentley Glazer down pit road now. Bentley giving up the lead. Watch out. Oh, this may not be good. We've seen a plethora of pit road incidents over the last couple of weeks from all different series, and Glazer avoids that one, fortunately, for both parties involved, as Charles Woods now has the race lead.
It looks like Julian Ricci there just kind of was basically staying where he was for as long as he could, trying to keep Glazer out of his pit stall, making him have to spend a little extra time on pit road there.
Charles Woods down pit road. That will give the lead to Dennis Fuson. See, the 53 of Carl Burke has used his fast repair.
Dennis Fuson. Chad Stearns came down pit road on lap 2 after that incident, so he probably has a couple extra seconds of fuel there. Same with Chad Simpson.
There is Chad Simpson right there in third in the number 42. As it stands right now, Lyle Swearingen will be the race leader. Kyle McCartney, so these two are battling for the effective race lead right now. However, they came into pit a good 7 or 8 laps prior to Andrew Shulta, Jeff Hollingsworth, Bentley Glazer, Butch Davis. Shulta, by the way, has gotten out in front of Bentley Glazer by 2.8 seconds, and a lot of that would have to do with the pit road time between those two. Shulta down from cone to cone, 42.28 seconds. Bentley Glazer, 45.2 seconds, almost 3 seconds longer from cone to cone on pit road for Glazer.
You got to wonder if that had something to do with Julian Ricci being down on that inside lane, slowing him up just a little bit there.
Glazer did have a slow stop as well. Schulta stopped 14.68 seconds compared to Bentley Glazer's 15.17 second stop. So the pit stop was slower, and I'm sure, as you just said, that awkward pit road entry that Glazer had to make because Julian Ricci was down there definitely did cost him a little bit of time. Dennis Fuson, by the way, has not yet come in. Only needs to go another lap or two before he can make it the rest of the way, barring a caution.
Yeah. I mean, right now, you might as well just send it because he has really no other choice at the moment because everybody else has pitted. And even Glazer pitted on lap 46, so he gets 4 or 5 more laps here away from the difference in Glazer there. He should be good as Brian Barnes makes his first pit stop here.
Lap 53 for Brian Barnes, so he should be okay. Dennis Fuson, Chad Stearns, Chad Simpson, Ryan Steele, Will Fletcher, James Campbell, and Wayne Fleet have not yet come down pit road on this cycle. Now Fuson and Stearns both come in. Chad Simpson will take over the race lead with Ryan Steele. So those are the guys that are going for it.
I was going to say, I believe the last time we had a fuel mileage race, I believe Ryan Steele was involved.
It was the one stop versus the two. That was back at Darlington. Steele chose the one stop that day and ended up with the win. Hoping that lightning strikes twice.
I mean, he did come down on lap 3 there to top off, so he definitely has enough to make it a couple more laps, as we saw Fuson come down on lap 53 there. So
wouldn't be the truest definition of a one stop, but long stop versus short stop, I guess, is how you would say this. As Chad Simpson trying to weave his way through traffic. Wow, Dennis Fuson, I'm sure, had a moment.
Probably lucky, hoping he was wearing those brown pants, because wow.
Certainly was close. Kyle McCart. Go ahead.
We saw it when there were guys in practice trying to get down pit road, sliding through each other there. So didn't expect any less when we had green flag pit stops here.
See if we can see that again. So there we see Ryan Steele coming down pit road. So everyone has come down to pit now. See if we can jump on board with the number 11 of Dennis Fuson as, that's him entering the pits, pardon me. Let's back this up a little bit more. Here we go. On board with Dennis Fuson. Watch the 42. Woo! Almost caught the left rear, or right rear. Battle for the race lead. Andrew Shulta out in front.
Yeah, it looks like Andrew came in, made that pit stop, took that fast repair, because his truck is on rails right now. We saw him just in front of Bentley Glazer about 2 seconds or so a couple laps ago. Now he's leading the race and is driving away from Kyle McCartney ever so slightly here.
Schulta, one of the drivers that came in on lap 45. So he has made up already the 8-lap pit difference between himself and Kyle McCartney. Bentley Glazer there as well. Glazer's caught up a nice amount of time. He was almost 3 seconds behind Schulta coming out of pit road. He's now a second behind the number 81.
Glazer's trying to make his way through a little bit of the traffic that he wound up in. Now he just has Kyle McCartney between him and Schulta. But Schulta is still driving away. He's out to almost 3/4 of a second ahead of Kyle McCartney.
Schulta led 36 laps at Pocono last week. Between himself and Justin Michael, they led 50 of the 64 laps at Pocono, and he said in his post-race interview his biggest mistake that he made in that race wasn't him hitting the wall. It was not passing Michael when he had the chance to. Doesn't have to worry about passing anybody right now. In the race lead by a full second over Bentley Glazer.
Yeah, Glazer made pretty quick work getting around Kyle McCartney there. But just in front of Kyle McCartney, looks like Ryan Steele back on track now.
Of the one-stoppers, have to go back to the 14th spot. Chad Stearns right now would be the race leader as far as the one-stop pitters go. Dennis Fuson, Julian Ricci, Brian Barnes, Chad Simpson would be the top 5 of that group. Everybody else, everyone in front of them definitely will have to come down pit road before the conclusion of this race.
What did 55? So, yeah, even the guys that stayed out to 46, 47 are going to have to come down one more time, probably.
And granted, there was a caution in there, so these guys had a good four laps off the pace as Bob Beltrami trying to chase down and pass Paul Crumry for the 11th position. Both of these drivers coming in on lap 41, so no tire advantage between the two.
Definitely not. It looked like they were almost trying to work together, but they're driving just slightly different lines as Beltrami gets a huge run and closes right into the back of Paul Crumry.
These two right now, 2.5 seconds behind Charles Woods, who's the last car in the top 10. And right now there on the outside line is the 29 of Dan Brazington. He has just gotten passed up by Chad Stearns and Dennis Fuson, again, who are trying to go on one stop. Those two are 7.5 seconds behind the pair of Crumry and Beltrami, who we were watching a moment ago and who are now back on screen.
So these next few laps are going to be definitely something worth watching to see when these trucks elect to come down, because some of the drivers only went 35 to 38 laps. So if they're going to try and stretch it out just a little bit after seeing how long the leaders stayed out, or if they're going to kind of stay out as long as they can and hope for a caution to come on late to reset the field.
Mentioned that Bentley Glazer a moment ago was a second behind Andrew Shulta. Well, not anymore. Here we go. Battle for the race lead.
Yeah, Schulta's running that low line. Glazer staying up high. Glazer has a little bit of momentum coming down the straightaways here. We'll see if he can capitalize on it after getting passed by Schulta on that high line.
Interesting from Schulta because he's been on that outside line for most of the run. Anytime we've seen that 81, when he's not been battling with somebody, he's been on the high side. So for him to be electing the bottom, quite interesting.
Yeah, it seemed like he was carrying a whole bunch more speed in that high line. And now that he's been kind of going, high in the straightaways and low in the corners, doesn't seem to be carrying as much speed as he stays high this time as we're talking about it. Glazer goes down low and gets almost side by side, but that momentum on that high line is probably going to allow that 81 to take the lead still.
Yep, he's going to be able to get clear, is Schulta. 2.3 seconds back is Kyle McCartney. He'll be inching closer and closer as these two battle. McCartney, though, slowest of the drivers in the top 5. The other 4, Schulta, Glazer, Hollingsworth, and Davis, were all in the 34.4s. McCartney was a 34.7.
Yeah, that is not something you want to hear when you're driving here. But Kyle McCartney was still closing in a little bit, but now it looks like he's starting to slow down as Glazer and Schulta were side by side there for a little bit, but
wasn't quite as dramatic. McCartney, though, still slowest of the drivers in the top 5. Schulta runs a 34.54. Glazer a 34.53. Hollingsworth slower than McCartney that last time around.
It looks like everybody except for Schulta and Glazer were about 34.7. So as far as McCartney, Hollingsworth, even Butch Davis was a 34.6. So everybody else seems to be maybe slowing down a little bit, trying to save tires, or their trucks are just getting a little bit too loose for them to handle at that higher rate of speed there.
Battle for what we are expecting to be the effective race lead after these guys come down pit road. This was back on lap 66. Dennis Fuson getting to the bottom of Chad Stearns. Stearns really backing off through 1 and 2 there. And Dennis Fuson up into 14th position. And as we were saying that, and as we were showing you that video, Stearns has gotten him back.
Yeah, it looked like from what we were looking at there, it looked like he might have just had a little bit of mistake, backed off, got it right, and was able to drive right past Fuson there as he's now battling. It looks like he's still battling for Beltrami as Beltrami's slowing down.
Beltrami coming back to him. Paul Crumry has lost Beltrami by about a second. He's 3.8 seconds ahead of Chad Stearns. So these two have been losing a lot of ground. Kyle McCartney coming down pit road with 35 laps to go. Makes sense. He was one of the first drivers down pit road on the last run of pit stops.
Yeah, I would say he came down probably almost first as he was in on lap 37, so split it basically in thirds, and this is his scheduled stop. So we'll see what happens with that, see if he's able to capitalize on that early pit stop as he was making up some ground as Schulta got loose and went every which way but straight there for a little bit.
Jeff Hollingsworth pits early. He was one of the drivers that came in the mid-40s. He is the second car down pit road.
And as we're watching that, it looks like Chad Simpson is making some moves up there as well. Getting around Chad Stearns, closing in on the back of Dennis Fuson here.
And this is for the effective race lead after the pit stop cycles out. 11, 12, and 13 on the track, but it'll be 1, 2, and 3 at the end of the pit cycle, and Chad Simpson has now taken the effective race lead as Lyle Swearingen, Bob Beltrami, and Paul Crumry come in.
And Simpson is just driving away there. So we'll see when Glazer and Schulta elect to come in.
Simpson came in back on lap 55. Compare that to 53 for Fuson and Chad Stearns. But as we know from Sim Racer's Edge, Chad Simpson is a miracle worker when it comes to tire and fuel saving. At least in a Dallara IR18, it looks as though it's translating over to the truck quite well here at Homestead. Wilkinson and Woods in.
Made his way through the field pretty quick here. And it looks like Ryan Steele's also closing into the back of Chad Stearns and Dennis Fuson there as well.
Whatever was working for Andrew Shulta in the last run is not working here. Schulta has already lost a second and a half to Bentley Glazer.
Looks like he might have got into that outside wall, judging by the way he's fallen back there just a little bit there. So we'll see if... Go ahead.
He gets loose as we're riding on board with him, catches the wall again. You see that cow flap down there just above the eye in the iRacing.com watermark there. Surefire way of knowing that he was in the wall. Bentley Glazer and Butch Davis both coming in.
So we'll see if Schulta elects to come in and stay in just a little bit longer to try and get some of that damage fixed up. Because after he hit that wall, he was dropping like a rock from Bentley Glazer. Mike Fisher also still out in second position of the guys that pitted pre-lap 50.
81 right up against that wall. Using that side force on the wall. As is modeled here. Now there's a big moment right there. Bentley Glazer just barely sliding out in front of Jeff Hollingsworth. Hollingsworth with some nose damage on that number 15 as Glazer gets loose coming out of 4.
It looked like that 15 just put some air on that back bumper and sent Glazer almost sideways there.
So we'll get their lap back from Schulta here as Mike Fisher pits from second. So Chad Simpson will inherit the race lead. He has a 2.4 second advantage over Ryan Steele. Steele came in on lap 56. It's going to be a close one. Again, I don't know how much those 4 laps of fuel saving under caution affected that first run.
Yeah, I think if you're the guys that did 53 laps of Dennis Fuson and Chad Stearns, I'm going to say you're probably going to have to pit, but if you got a couple extra laps like Simpson and Steele were able to do, you might just have enough to make it to the end here.
Fuson and Stearns battling once again. This is for 4th on the racetrack. It's going to be 3rd here in a moment when Shulta comes down pit road. Brian Barnes pits in the number 4, which is interesting because Barnes pit right on that borderline as to whether or not he can make it or not from here. Does that speak more to Barnes overall solely, or does that speak more for the strategy decision overall?
I think it almost speaks more to the strategy decision overall. I mean, if you're Chad Stearns and Dennis Fuson, you got 53, you get back out there, it's gonna tell you about how many laps you have. So if it's starting to tell you, you don't have as many laps as you think, you either stay out and hope for a caution, or you just go with it and hope it's wrong, I guess.
Got about 25 laps to go, a little bit less. Dennis Fuson made an awkward gesture there down the back straightaway. Usually it's a sign of somebody coming in, but he stays out. Andrew Shulta, right now your current race leader, he does need to come in again. Last stopped on lap 45. Chad Simpson running in second would be your effective race leader. He has Ryan Steele 1.4 seconds behind. There's Steele on the far right of your screen. Now, of the drivers that came into pit in the 70s, Kyle McCartney has a 7/10 of a second lead over Bentley Glazer, currently running in 6th. These guys are not that far behind Chad Simpson, Ryan Steele, Chad Stearns, and Dennis Fuson. McCartney is just 4.5 seconds behind Chad Simpson as Shulta pits.
Yeah, so it's going to be the tires of Kyle McCartney and Bentley Glazer versus the fuel strategy of Simpson, Steele, and Stearns.
Dennis Fuson has just been passed by Kyle McCartney and Bentley Glazer. And it's looking like the Darlington one stop is not going to be the winner here tonight. Kyle McCartney running in 4th. Bentley Glazer right behind him. Chad Simpson, currently your race leader, will take you to the finish right after this. Working lap 92 of 107. You saw it during the break. Bentley Glazer out in front after passing both Ryan Steele and Chad Simpson for the race lead. Kyle McCartney right now running in second by 1.6 seconds behind Bentley Glazer. And as we were discussing during the break, this is quite a common pairing around this racetrack.
Yeah, the last two times we were here, winner, Kyle McCartney. Second place, Bentley Glazer. So these two are not afraid of this racetrack or of each other, as they both feel very comfortable ending up in the top two spots the last two times we were here.
Trends are meant to be bucked, as Ryan Steele has gotten around Chad Simpson. Now Simpson coming under fire from Jeff Hollingsworth. The 11 of Dennis Fuson came down pit road during that break. So Fuson is on fresh tires and is not for position for these guys. There you see Chad Stearns in the background. Butch Davis not that far behind, nor is Lyle Swearingen. Andrew Shulta, who we saw come in on lap 85, trying to recover now, has just gotten around Christian Bishop, or is in the process of getting around Christian Bishop, running in the 9th spot. Now, if he can make this charge in the final 12 laps of this race, he's only 9.5 seconds behind Bentley Glazer, so there is a chance. He's about a half a second faster than Glazer right now. He's going to need to pick up a little bit more if he wants a shot at the race win come the end of this race.
Yeah, you get those fresh tires, you can be a little bit quicker, but he will have to deal with traffic trying to make his way around the racetrack. But it looks like he's definitely running, like you said, half second faster almost every lap down to the inside. Who's that, Swearingen?
It is Lyle Swearingen right there. That's another position for Schulta. Chad Stearns and Butch Davis not that far ahead of the number 81.
Well, like we were kind of talking during the break, after your strategy failed, you know, it's almost better just to come down pit road, kind of stop the bleeding. But these guys are still hanging in there, hanging out in 4th and 5th position right now.
Ryan Steele, Chad Simpson, and Chad Stearns. All three of those guys came in. Lap 53 for Stearns, 56 for Steele, 55 for Simpson. Was the only drivers that tried that one-stop strategy that have not come down pit road yet. As Schulta continues his mad dash back up towards the front, getting caught a little bit behind Wayne Hutchinson, gets around Butch Davis, and now will set his sights on Chad Simpson, a top 5 position on the very near horizon for Andrew Schulta.
Yeah, you can see he's just passing these cars like they're standing still. So he is a man on a mission. Just now inside the top 5, looking at the back of Ryan Steele shortly.
30-lap fresher tire advantage for Andrew Schulta compared to Chad Simpson, and now in a heartbeat, he has gotten to the back of Ryan Steele, and if you blink, you might miss him past Jeff Hollingsworth.
Or Ryan Steele here down on the
there
inside.
There he goes. That's Hollingsworth in the white bumpered car there, the number 15. There's James Campbell in the 13 just in front of him. And Schulta, in a matter of a couple of laps, has the podium in sight.
Yeah, went from outside the top 10 to inside the top 5, looking for P3 right now as he's running that high line with Jeff Hollingsworth down on the low line. Hollingsworth gets a little bobble, and Schulta will take that position.
That's the good news for Andrew Schulta. He's back on the podium. Bad news is he's got about 4 seconds to make up to get to Kyle McCartney. Apologize for that. And only 7 laps to try to make up 7 seconds on Bentley Glazer.
He is still running, well, he's running 7/10 quicker than Kyle McCartney did last lap and almost a half second quicker than Bentley Glazer. So he'll have to do a little more work here to get up there, but looks like he has the truck to do it at the moment.
There's Glazer to Schulta. As far as lap time is concerned, 0.4 of a second the last time around. This time, Schulta gains another half a second. So it's not going to be enough to get to Glazer, but it should be enough to get to Kyle McCartney, especially with the mess that McCartney finds himself in right now.
Kyle McCartney stuck between 3 lap cars. Just can't seem to get around to get away, so right to the back of Dennis Fuson, down to the inside. If you can get around Fuson, he'll be out in the clear, and Schulta will have to deal with the 3 lap cars momentarily.
It's Dennis Fuson in the 11, Brian Barnes in the 4, and Dan Brazington in the 29. These 3 are battling for position, 16th, 17th, and 18th between the 3 lappers on your screen. 4 to go.
And Schulta gained a ton of time that lap.
Would expect. Lyle Swearingen looking to the inside of Chad Stearns. Stearns down to 10th. Christian Bishop has also gotten around Chad Simpson as well. That NASA number 26. Wiggling and wobbling his way down into turn 3.
3 laps to go. Soon to be 2. Ryan Steele, only one stopper that's sitting inside the top 5.
As we mentioned, it's worked for him this season. Back at Darlington. Bentley Glazer coming across the line now, 2 laps to go. This will only be his 3rd podium of the season. His 9th race competed in. Just his 3rd podium. Finished 2nd at Iowa and took the win at Texas. Those are his only 2 previous podiums this season. And Glazer, by far and away, has shown he has had the dominant truck here tonight.
Yeah, multiple time defending series champion here, Bentley Glazer. Doesn't look like he'll be able to defend that title this year, but he can go out and race for wins and show everybody the truck and the driver that he is, especially showing up at Texas and here with these dominant wins.
Absolutely. Is coming through 3 and 4. Bentley Glazer makes no doubt tonight. He is the race winner here at Homestead-Miami Speedway and has all the momentum going into the off week.
Kyle McCartney for 2nd. Andrew Shulta not too far behind him in 3rd. Jeff Hollingsworth 4th. Ryan Steele holds on to the top 5.
Schulta came just short of being able to make that podium run. Kyle McCartney comes home in 2nd. We'll be hearing from those 3, and for Jeff Hollingsworth, a huge points night with Jeff Schmeier finishing marred back in 26th position, never getting that caution he needed to get that car repaired and to get him on a strategy that would get him back up towards the front. A very unfortunate day for that number 30 in this second half of the season for Jeff Schmeier has not gone at all the way he would have hoped.
No, definitely not. Lucky for him. Like I said, there's a couple drop weeks that you can have, so he can make it up later in the season. But when you're talking about going to Adora and some of the other tracks later in the schedule here, it's going to be tough to make up for a couple mistakes here.
We don't have our race winner in the chat right now. However, we do have our third place finisher here. So we'll go third, second, and first tonight. Mike, you are with our third place finisher, Andrew Shulta.
Hey, Andrew, Mike up in the booth. How's it going?
Not too bad, Mike. How about yourself?
Oh, not too bad. Well, you had looked like you about had the right pit strategy there. Just maybe stayed out a little bit too long where you couldn't close in on Kyle McCartney and Bentley Glazer, but you had a heck of a run leading quite a few laps here. How was the race for you?
Well, we definitely had to work for this one. I think Bentley was the class of the field tonight. That middle run, he came out of the pits. I think I had about 3 seconds on him, and he was able to run me down throughout that run. So I knew he was going to be hard to beat. So I probably stayed out a couple laps too late. I think that was a difference between third and second, but I don't think I would have had anything for Bentley at the end of the day. It was just hard to manage the tires and go fast and figure out which line was the best one to save the tires. I know I cooked the right rear, at least the second run. This last run, I was just burning the right front off, just trying to get everything I could with the freshest tires. But yeah, I mean, it was a struggle, but I'm just happy to be sitting on the podium.
I was say 2 weeks, 2 podiums. Then we head into the bye week and head to Nashville. What are your feelings heading into Nashville there?
Is it the super speedway or the fairgrounds?
Yep, super speedway.
I like concrete tracks. So I like there. I like Dover. So we'll see how it goes. I feel like in other leagues or other races, I've had success there. So, but I mean this is an entirely different class of drivers that we got here. So, I mean, we'll see. I'm hoping to at least be in the top 5 there, but who knows what it'll bring.
Awesome. Well, before I let you go, anybody you want to thank for your third place finisher?
Yeah, shout out to Bandit Motorsports teammates. Looks like Justin wasn't able to make it this week. Patented Paints for whipping up this Ty Majeski look-alike paint scheme. And everyone out there, hopefully they enjoyed broadcasting it. I hope you guys enjoyed watching it. Hopefully it was a good show.
Thanks, Andrew.
So that will now bring in our second place finisher, Kyle McCartney. And Kyle, Mike had brought up the point during the race that the last 2 times we were here, you had won the race with Bentley Glazer finishing in second, and that trend was reversed. How is second place feeling tonight?
Man, I'm kind of bummed because that first run, I had saved my tires and I started picking. I think it was up to like 4th or 5th, and was catching Bentley and them at like 3 or 4 tenths a lap. And had I been able to run that stint out, I would have probably passed him by then. But I got weavered, and so I had to pit early, and which was great on one part. But man, it's those fresh tires, like they'll come flying by. You just can't hold them off. I was a couple laps closer on tire strategy. I think I had a shot, but yeah, it was too tough there at the end to hold Bentley off. But it was still fun.
How difficult was it to try to maneuver around and pass around here? Both lanes really do work. How difficult was it to try to manage that, go fast, yet save the tires?
Well, I mean, honestly, all I was doing was racing the racetrack at the start. And frankly, I didn't mind losing spots because if you can save the tires, really, you can blow by them in a corner without getting caught up too much. So for me, it wasn't too bad. It's just you had to save the tires to be able to do that.
We go into the off week this week, but coming out of said off week, we go to the Nashville Super Speedway next. What are your thoughts going into that racetrack?
Oh, I love Nashville. It's a fun track. I normally don't have a lot of luck, but I did win it the last time I was there, so that's a positive. But everything prior to that was a disaster. So we'll see. I'm excited for an off week. Happy Easter to everybody. Yeah, looking for another fun race in Nashville.
All right, anyone you want to give a shout out to before we let you go?
Yeah, I got Greg DeVries. He was giving me a hard time about not giving him a shout out a while ago. So, howdy, Greg. Got to give a shout out to my wife and also Shady Grove Fertility. My wife is going through fertility stuff, and they're a great company that we've been working with for the last couple of years. So, want to give a shout out to them as well.
Well, good luck in that, and good luck the rest of the way. Kyle McCartney, your second place finisher tonight.
Thank you, guys.
And with that, Mike, you are now with our race winner, Bentley Glazer.
Bentley, man, heck of a run there. You were able to bring home the win instead of the second place finish that kind of cursed you the last two times we were here.
Yeah, that was a tough race. Like I'm sweating. I was battling the whole time.
Yeah, it looked like you were able to wheel that machine, had the right pit strategy, that were able to just barely hang on to that front end. When you saw the Ryan Steele and those guys do that one stop, were you nervous about it, or did you know that tires were going to be more important than the fuel strategy?
Yeah, I wasn't worried about their strategy. I was worried about Andrew. He was really fast. I think in the second run he burned his stuff up a little bit, he was saying. But yeah, he's flying. He'll be winning here soon.
Yeah, definitely. Well, as we wrap up this race, head to the bye week and go to Nashville Super Speedway. What are your feelings heading into Nashville and maybe the rest of the season here?
I don't know. It depends on what car we're in. I know in the B car I struggle a little bit, but
yeah, it's a truck at Nashville. Yeah,
I'll do all right. I should. But yeah, it was good to win at WSRL again. I've been running another league, and that was kind of a mistake. I'm ready for WSRL next season to start, so I'll be running that. So yeah, great race.
All right. Well, before we let you go, anybody you want to thank for your win here at Homestead?
Thank my teammates at OGR. Thank you guys for broadcasting, and thank Bob Beltrami and WSRL.
Awesome, Bentley.
Thank you.
And so that will do it pretty much for this race. And what a good one we had. It wasn't caution-free, but with a caution coming on lap one and then running green the rest of the way, it pretty much was a caution-free here tonight. So another just a great week of racing here from the Western States, guys.
Yes, definitely was. We saw a lot of side-by-side racing, a little bit of pit strategy, even, one stop, two stop, and then it all depended on when you were taking your second stop and how well you kept your tires under you. But as we head into the off week and head down to Nashville and down the rest of the season, it'll be interesting to see how this all shakes up with Hollingsworth and oh my gosh,
Schmeier.
Hollingsworth and Schmeier, and see how that all shakes up towards the end of the season when you count in their drop weeks and what have you.
Ryan Steele is up there as well, as is Jeff Hollingsworth. Well, of course he's up there. Ryan Steele, Brian Barnes, Wade Hutchinson are all up there as well. So a lot of guys with a chance at winning this championship here. As we'll take a look now at the final results here for tonight's race. Bentley Glazer takes his second win of the season. Kyle McCartney and Andrew Shulta, your top three. Jeff Hollingsworth and Ryan Steele coming away with your top five. Butch Davis, Christian Bishop, Chad Simpson, Lyle Swearingen, and Justin Wilkinson rounding out the top 10. Charles Woods, Bob Beltrami, Mike Fisher, Paul Crumry, and Chad Stearns not only rounding out the top 15, but rounding out the drivers on the lead lap.
And then you go back to Dennis Fuson, Brian Barnes, Dave Brasington in 18th, Keith Kelman 19th, William Fletcher rounds out the top 20, James Camel. Julian Ricci had a pretty good night early and brings home 22nd. Wayne Fleet, Wayne Hutchinson 23rd, 24th, Fred Williams. Jeff Schmeier got a little early accident there and brings home 26th. Earl and David Weaver 27th, 28th. Dustin Burns, Barry Phil, and Carl Burke round out the field here from Homestead-Miami.
Yep, and with that, we head now into the off week, and for me at least, the off week is going to be a little bit longer, with my my real job taking up a lot more of my time this season than I was expecting. This will be the last time that I will be here with Sim Racing Media, as on a regular basis, I should say. For a little while. I hope to be doing broadcasts every now and again when my schedule allows, but for right now, as far as an every week thing, my usual Monday, Tuesday, Friday races that we will be broadcasting, I don't think I'm going to be able to make those for a while. So it is not goodbye. It's goodbye for now, not goodbye period. With the time that my job has been taking up here early, and with how much more responsibility I have there now, I don't want to overextend myself and either hurt my performance at my job or here for the broadcast, because it's not fair to either one. So if one of them has to step aside for a while and be put on the back burner, it is going to be this, unfortunately. But like I said, hope to be doing races every now and again, but it's going to be put on hold here for a little bit while I figure out what's going on with my schedule and with how much work I'm going to be having to do during this baseball season. So with that said, for my broadcast partner, Mike DeMoney, I am Frank Marchese. Thank you very much for joining us here. We will see you in 2 weeks' time at the Nashville Superspeedway for round number 14 of the Western States Racing League. Good night, everybody.